Agree that it's possible? Yes. All right. So what does Dr. Joe say, our modern physician here? When we stay present, when we are in the moment, we can go beyond time and space, and we can make any one of those potentials a reality. When we are mirrored in the past, however, none of those new potentials exist, which is so cool, right? So they're both saying, as we've been talking, they're both saying the exact same thing. Whatever one, any thoughts about this?
Yes. So it's bilingualism. Yes.
Yeah.
So Jamie was explaining it, you know.
Right.
So to the scientific mind, or the scientific leaning mind, what Dr. Joe is saying resonates. But to the spiritual leaning mind, what Dr. Holmes is saying resonates more. It's the same thing, but it's just a language.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a language. And what I've experienced in my reality over the years is when I
Those
change.
people at the theater.
Did you bring enough popcorn for everybody?
Go ahead.
When you change the vocabulary in a statement, depending on who you're talking to, it will resonate more.
Right.
And it's all about the language.
Well, and the most important thing is to say it in your own words, right?
Right.
So that you know that you understand it. If you can't take this and put it into your own words, then then you don't really understand it. Then you're just regurgitating information.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Okay, but I think this
I'll be
is
choking.
where, people don't want to take responsibility because it's exhausting to stay in the present all the time.
To stay in the present.
It is. I mean, it's like really, oh my God, I guess, it's,
Well, it's exhausting sometimes because you're trying to resist what's happening in the present.
yeah.
So what if you just
see,
took a
this
deep
is-
breath?
No, I
and
know, but
just-
see, this is the whole thing about the past. It's because we're lulled into like sleeping, we're just going to do our, this is the real crux. It's like stepping, saying, oh, I'm in the past again. I'm in the past. I mean, it's constantly, how do you do it? I mean, how do you
just keep-
really do it?
I don't do it all the time either.
Exhausting.
I don't do it all the time either, but I know that if the more I practice it, the easier it gets. If I focus and say, I'm not with Patrick right now. I'm off here, so I'm thinking about what's going to be happening tonight, and I'm not even hearing what he's saying. I mean, just simple things like that, or getting out of bed and you're already at your meeting that's at 11 o'clock where you're going to be confronting somebody or whatever, instead of just getting out of bed and going and enjoying your coffee and looking at a beautiful tree outside. I mean, there are ways to do it if you put it into action, but if you just think about it, then it becomes like overwhelming in your head.
So I got so excited because I had a divine aha come through that is scientific. It's also true, but it's also a really cool cut through. And that was, how when we look out at the night sky, we're seeing stars. But if astronomers will tell you a good third of the stars we're looking at aren't there anymore. Okay, because they're suns that actually went supernova. And the aha that I got was just to say, everything I'm thinking and feeling automatically is the light from a star that is already gone. Everything that I'm thinking and feeling. And sometimes it's a good one, sometimes it's a bad one, but everything I'm thinking and feeling automatically is the light of a past star. Okay? So my little girl likes stuff really simple. Really simple. So the simple is, I do a cut through. If I want to be in peace to joy, I just breathe and I go, I am so loved. God loves me. Whatever it is I'm doing, I'm just choosing to create that, take my attention completely off the outer world and come in here and go, what's the feeling I want to have right now? Really simple. I'm not even going to get into the struggle, because if I get into the and wrestle the alligator, it's very tiring. But if I just say that alligator is actually light from a star that's long gone, and I'm just going to let that alligator do the alligator thing, but I'm going to sit here and create joy. where I'm going to sit here and create peace. Without cause, not because my life looks wonderful, not because, do you know what I mean? Just simply because I can sit here and create peace.
Think about the times, like, for those of us that are like creativity and, or even at work, or when I'm like right now, I'm really present. I'm not thinking about what's going to happen after this. I'm present with you guys. When you're like, can consciously engage yourself in something and actually be present for it. Like when I'm writing, that's when I'm really present, or when I'm singing, or, but even when I'd be teaching, when I was teaching kids, I'd have a lot of things going on in my life, but when I would just stay with exactly what I was doing in that moment, I didn't think about those things anymore. I didn't care. I was just there. And so there are ways to be present, but if you're in your mind and you're just spinning, right? But if you could just stay, you're in a meeting with somebody and you're with that meeting and you're just there. I think it's the times we're alone and we're like spinning and we're doing dishes. Can we stay present when we're just doing a dish and, washing a dish? It's an exercise. It's a discipline, right? Right. But it's worth a try, I think. And yes, and going out and looking at the stars or a tree or whatever, it really helps with these things. So we have a choice. We could give up and say it's not possible, or we could just say we're just going to keep doing it because it feels good. Right? It feels good. So why wouldn't we do something that feels good? Why would we stay with something that doesn't feel good? Anyway, Lori's next. Yeah.
Just quick, just about being in the present, I notice like when I'm at work and doing tasks, but not talking with anyone or anything, it's like being in the present, I'm quiet. Like there's no thought about the past or the future, it's just being, so I think that sometimes is like I can see I'm addicted to like, drama or action or not just the quiet
Right. Yeah.
and just being.
Yeah, it takes a lot of letting go to do that, a lot of surrender.
And that's not to say that we don't go into our past, because there are times when we want to examine our past and go, I want to change that behavior, or I like that behavior. There's nothing, there are times when you have to look at that and go, okay, let me make that change, or have a vision in our future, for our future, right, of what I want to change, what I want to become. So you're looking at the future. But that's not to say you're not in the present. There are just those times when you have to look at the past and the future for a reason.
Right, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about people that carry the past with them continually, and they're creating their tomorrows from what they couldn't do in the past, or the job they didn't get, and now they're going for a new job, but they're saying, oh, I never get hired for a job, and they're carrying the past with them. That's what they're talking
So
about.
you're saying we can presently
yeah.
be in the future and the past because we use it.
But well, what?
There's a key word in there. Mired. The key word is mired, which is being in a bog, in quicksand, or being
Right.
stuck.
In a box.
Right. Because if you
I can visit,
Right.
I just don't stay too long.
But
And
a lot of people have already moved in and set up a new residency in their past, and they are still living that. And we know that because it keeps spinning and keeps spinning. But I think that one thing I said on Sunday, for those of you who are here, and I still really believe that, is, and believe it even stronger, we're working really too hard. We're really working too hard on trying to get this, and it's stressing us. And that's why people thought it was funny, I would imagine, on Sunday, because people were going, oh my God, when he puts it like that, it's so true. Because if you're sitting there going, I gotta stay in the moment. I'm in the moment. There's no past, no future, no past, no future. I mean, you guys, we get sick when we get all like that.
loosen the grip, as Doug
No
said.
past, no future. And I remember, I have to tell you, in New York, my vocal coach, oh God, Meryl, I would teach her acting, and she would teach me and give me the voice lessons. And in acting, he said, I can't stay in the present moment anymore. What she used to say to me, I used to talk to, in acting, we call it, you have to be in the moment. And it's called moment to moment to moment. And all good actors, it is, once you develop your character, you've done your work, then you start the play and the curtain opens. and you go moment to moment to moment. Everything is alive. And if you don't, then you're usually overacting. And you can see it. You can see the people that are not, I'm just an extra, I'm just standing there. The people that really are present in the scene. But so I told her, I said, I was crazy then, didn't even know anything about science of mind. I said, why don't you try one day to just stay in the present moment? Everything you do from the time you wake up, to take a shower, to eat your breakfast. Oh my God, she called me at probably 9:30, and I have never seen or heard anybody that angry at me. They go, what the hell you think you're doing? I'm in the moment. It's impossible. It's impossible. And she was so angry. I said, no, just stay. I said, right now we're in the moment. You're totally in the moment right now. And then she said, yeah, but it's I can't. And I mean, really to the point of, I said to her, I got an idea. Let's forget the in the moment thing. And she said, thank you. And I went, wow, because it was about, she almost had to go into therapy. Yeah, because it was so frightening to be just present here with nothing else happening except all of this, and there's a whole bunch happening.
Yeah, and just look at this. They're talking about is like you're staying in your regrets of your past. You're staying in, and you're carrying them into the present. It's not about like, oh, I got to be in the present moment. It's like, what are you doing when you're trying to create? Are you still in guilt for something you did or think you did that you don't feel good about, and you're carrying that around with you for the rest of your life? That's what they're talking about. How can you create?
Exactly, how can you create? And so before I was ever introduced to Science of Mind or CSL or anything like that, right before I moved here, I had this revelation or intuitive creative process happening that knew after 20 years of therapy, looking at my past, wasn't doing shit for me anymore. It just wasn't. Yeah. And it was just bringing up the past and the trauma over and over and over and over. And I was just so frustrated, like, why wasn't I changing, or why wasn't I getting better? Because I do the work. Like, I do what they tell me to do, right? And then, so when I sought out a therapist here, I went to her and I said, I am not interested in talking about my past with you at all. I'm interested in talking about my future and my vision for my future. And it's so cool to like see like how this is like all coming through, like being a part of this process.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great, Loretta. Yeah. I remember those days in therapy. You just
Right.
like, do
Well,
I have to
somebody-
tell the story one more time?
Well, it's interesting because I talked to someone, they said, this is very interesting because I was in therapy for 10 years and we never discussed any of what we're discussing right now. And I said, how long were you in there? And she said, about 10 years. And I said, wow, that's a long. She goes, I know. She goes, it was just like, it became very comfortable for me just to go tell the story, see you next week. And then I could, keep it. And I went, wow. I mean, therapy is also very good. I've had therapy myself. But but I'm just thinking how interesting it is that you just keep repeating until you finally say, can we do something now that's going to catapult me forward? Yeah.
Once we break the emotional, this is Dr. Joe, once we break the emotional addictions rooted in our past, there will no longer be any pull to cause us to return to the same automatic programs of the old self, right? It makes sense that although we think or believe we are living in the present, there is a good possibility that our bodies are in the past. I think that's when he talks about you're going, oh, I'm going to think positive. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to think, and underneath is like, I'm a loser. I'm this. I'm that. Oh, I'm going to think positive. I'm going to think positive. So we have to break our emotional addictions rooted in the past. Dr. Holmes says, so today is the time in which we should cut loose from the threads of previous experiences wherever they were negative and deliberately make up our minds that we shall no longer create our future out of the old past. If we have resentments in the past, today is the only day in which we can change them. So, this is all, there's no mistakes that are held against us in the mind of love. Oh, God, whatever you want to call it, there's nothing. We're the only ones holding them against us. We're the only ones. So, any comments?
Roseanne, did you have another surprise?
Yes, my surprise is I'm dropping out of flying solo because I don't want to stay in the past.
Oh, very good.
Just kidding. Just
That was
kidding.
really a nice try.
Actually, because we're about halfway through flying solo, and it's a group of people that are sharing a lot of things about the past. So I would suggest on October 18th, Friday evening, if you really want to witness a lot of people sort of standing up there at the podium, maybe cutting open their veins and bleeding a little bit, come and watch, because it's...
Well, that's a really good advertisement. If you want to see everybody cut their veins and completely throw up all over CSL Kauai, come on down. I know what you're saying, and you're absolutely right.
I'm talking about being real, being raw.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Sharing
I agree with
emotions
you.
that normally we wouldn't share. And so I would just suggest that that is an opportunity, because I think all of us in that process, of course, are letting go of the past, but they're doing it in a very public way by saying, I'm done with it, and this is my last performance, my first and last performance in flying solo.
And it is. Flying solo allows us to emotionally break those addictions. I mean, to break those emotional addictions, if we choose to do it, so go ahead.
Okay, so this is it's a broken record. So how do we break the emotional addictions rooted in the past? Other than, okay, so
Well,
we
you
just
have to make a
think-
decision first,
Okay,
and then you have to do this work.
I know, but this is like every minute, every minute. Yes.
You know what?
Because you don't know what's in there. It's like coming up, and it's like, oh my God, it's there again.
Okay, but I'm not gonna. But I took a deep breath. I'm not going there. Everybody's going. He's going in, man. He's going in. No, I'm going to ban you from asking that question for the rest of this time, because you know why? Because you know the answer. Oh, he goes, yeah. No. Because you keep wanting another solution besides the 300 that we are giving you. We are giving you every tool imaginable, Melissa, to get through this that you're going through. And you know that that's true. All the work you're doing, there's not going to be another answer for you, except that I have decided that enough is enough. And then you're going to, there isn't going to be another answer. I'm sorry for anybody who's out there looking. The answer is we're going to stop arguing for our limitations. We're going to say this shit works, and we're going to allow it to work through us. We're going to grab our inner children, if you care to do so. If you don't, call your inner you, call it whatever you want. And you're going to say, this is going to work for me. I'm not going to keep asking how this is going to work for me. It is going to work for me, and you know that. Yeah. So that question is banned for the rest of the weeks here, because you know what is happening, and I trust you, Melissa, and I always have, and so I'm going back more now than my usual into Melissa, because we're asking these questions over and over because what we're wanting is a different answer than the one that we're getting.
Think something else. That's it. That's the answer. So that's the answer. That's it.
If you start there, the universe has to respond to you, and it takes a decision. It takes a decision to say, I'm no longer going to buy this guilt trip that I've been given my whole life. I'm no longer going to live in guilt. I'm just no longer going to live in guilt. The universe answers yes. It has to answer yes. So it's just a matter of saying, no, that is not me anymore. This is me. And then think something else. And eventually, because what it is, Melissa, and anybody, it's an emotional addiction. That's what it is. You're in an emotional addiction. You're giving an example of what an emotional addiction is, and you're refusing to change it. You're saying it's possible, but we're not going to go in. What? Oh, Dara's next. Sorry.
Well, I actually. Go ahead. Thank you. There was something, Melissa.
Okay.
Okay. I had something come through meditation 2 weeks ago that really responded for me to the similar question I was asking that Melissa was asking. And it was Christ consciousness coming through and saying, I said, you cannot put new wine in an old wineskin. Okay? And what I got from that is it's actually, and this teaches it, but I'll make it really simple. What I got from that, it's a 3-step process. The first is to become aware, right, that there's something. And then the second, this is a physics thing. What we shut down in the past is trauma we didn't feel, like you've been teaching in the inner child class, that there were stuff stuck. So in physics, we know that things are either a particle or a wave. Well, when it's stuck, it's in its particle state, and it's stuck in the body, and the child's carrying it around, and you're carrying it around. So the emptying the wineskin is bringing your loving, unconditionally accepting awareness to that stuck place, like you teach in the inner child, to that stuck place in the body where it is a wave, but then having the discipline, which spiritual mind treatment teaches, to allow it to become a wave of energy, which might be anger or grief or rage or hopelessness or helplessness. It's something other than peace to joy, right? Yeah? But not to bring the mind in, because what happens is if the mind comes in, then you're not just clearing one wave, then there's another wave and another wave and another wave, and you're stuck in that cycle, right? So, but to empty the wineskin one time, you know, to go in and love that part of you and give it permission to feel and be the witness consciousness that, and you'll feel it move in the body. And then the second step is everything they're taught. Then the wineskin is emptied, and then you make the choice. Yeah. What is it I'm choosing? Am I choosing peace? Am I choosing love? Anyway, I thought that was
Yeah,
powerful.
no, that's good. And I think that you made a point to this love. That affirmation that you had last week, that's your answer. So I would continue with that.
And I'm just, one more thing on the thank you, Dara. Thank you, Melissa.
you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, everybody, for bringing it up. You have got to want this more than anything else in your life. That's it. You want another answer? You have to want this. I know a lot of people, my friends, and it can be very, very frustrating at times, I know, that they can be honest with me and they say, you know, I'm okay with the status quo, Patrick. Get out of my face. I'm just okay with the way things are. I'm really okay with it. I'm okay waking up and doing this. I'm retired. I'm doing this. Bless you. But we cannot say we want something different, and we cannot say that and then continue to go over on the other side. So what I'm saying is, you have to wake up in the morning, all of us, and say, I don't know why this is in, I don't know why it's difficult, but I'll tell you one thing, I want this more than anything, and I'm gonna have it because I know I can. You have to have that kind of determination, that kind of love for yourself. And I am getting very used to, and it's very hurtful for me sometimes, I'll be really honest with you guys, when I understand, not this isn't hurtful, I'm talking about when the people that I love say to me, I'm okay with just the way it is. Don't try to convince me. Don't try to, I'm okay. I cannot get to a point that I have never thought I deserved it, and I don't know if I can ever feel that. I just need you to stop. And that's when I walk away and I go, okay, this is your life. We're not any better than you because we want things more. But what I'm saying is if we're going to sit in the container and we're going to sit in there, we're going to keep coming back, then we have got to commit to ourselves that this is so important that nothing, no pain, no illness, nothing anybody says to us, not anything that we read, that it is so important that because, why is it so important? Because I love myself enough to give this to myself. I will not die and leave this planet without remembering who I am. It's that important. And that's just what, that I just offer that up for. So thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, Patrick. Okay. All right, your turn. Read this, please, honey. We have seen people deliberately change their thought, disconnect their memory from failure, push it aside mentally as though it no longer belonged, as though it were no longer a part of them, and affirm that good alone accompanies them, that life is made to live successfully and happily. Accepting this and daily
on
affirming it,
time.
we have seen failure and defeat turn into success. Ernest Holmes. Overcoming your nearly automatic habits and no longer anticipating the future requires the ability to live a greater than time. So we've got to live greater than time. We've got to live greater than our environment. We've got to live greater than our body. We've got to live a greater consciousness. It's there. Yeah, and it takes daily affirming it. It's not a one-time shot. It doesn't, I don't know anybody that's been a one-time shot. I mean, I'm sure Jesus even came here after working on it a while, for 30 years before he started his ministry. I don't know what he was doing, but we don't know what he was doing, right? So go ahead, Diane.
This is just it's exciting stuff. And what I was thinking when I raised my hand to get the microphone was, this reminds me so much of 12-step work. There are so many times when in a 12-step meeting, I would think, we have the answer here, and not everybody wants it. A lot of people need it, not everybody wants it, and you can't make somebody want it, and you can't make somebody change. But the tools are here if they're ready. And it's the same thing with Science of Mind. The tools are here, they've always been here, and we'd be glad to share them with you if you want to know how to use them. The way I learned to use them was to practice every single day. Just like I used to go to a meeting every single day to break the habit of being an addict and an alcoholic, I broke the habit of not being able to change my own life. And it's like the last year has been like bam, bam, bam. Big things that I didn't know were going to change. And this is after 30 years of working on myself. It's just like all of a sudden when I redoubled the discipline and do it every single day. And Dr. Joe's, the meditation we did tonight walks you step by step how to do it. So I just do that every morning.
It's great. Thank you.
What do other people do on Wednesday evening?
Go ahead, Patrick. Patrick, go for it. Oh,
Quick.
did you have something to say? Yeah, sure.
I like what Dr. Joe says, because that's been my experience. Like overcoming nearly automatic habits and no longer anticipating the future. So I wasn't thinking about like tomorrow. Requires the ability to live greater than time. So my thought process was I was always in now. Because I had to stay there, because that was the most comfortable, safe place for me to be when I got into recovery, was to be now. Dude told me, look down. Where your feet at? That's where you're at. You're not back, you're not back in all of that mess that you used to create, and don't even think about that future stuff, because you have no control over that. You have no idea what's going to happen. But if you stay now, and that for me was the ability to live greater than time. So I wasn't thinking about time, gathering time. All I was thinking about, can I keep breathing in and out? Can I keep a sober thought for right now? Right now. Because I did not plan to be sober for 25 years. That was not my plan. That wasn't. I'm going to, be good for a little while, and then all the chaos and confusion go, and then I'm going to go back to normal. But something happened. Something happened where normal did no longer look good, because normal was a part of all of that failure and mental confusion and disturbance. And so I began to accept this daily reprieve, and then no longer had failure. And this thing turned defeat into success. I'm a success today, not because of the stuff I do, but because of who I am. It's who I am.
Thank you. It's good stuff.
Hey,
All right, go ahead, Patrick.
if you start, if you start keeping track of your thoughts and write them down, you'll find that most of the time you're either thinking ahead or looking back. And that's our wonderful Dr. Joe. For every man is the cause of his own experience, whether he knows it or not. This is Holmes. We are all carrying the negative experiences of our past into the future merely because we have not disconnected them from our minds. If we are creating a negative future, it is because we have not changed our thought. One thing that just popped in, our goal isn't to stay in the moment. And that's where all the answers are going to, that's not the goal, because that's going to make us crazy. Because it's going to be like my friend in New York. She's going to go crazy because she's trying so hard to be in the moment that it's overthinking the process. The most important thing is to follow the decision that you've made. And if you have followed the decision that you made that my life is going to unfold perfectly, easily, effortlessly, creatively, joyfully, then you're not going to be worried about the past because you've made a strong enough decision to move forward from this. So most of your time is going to be spent feeling and getting excited about, I remember we talked about traveling and doing, then you're going to be thinking, oh my God, travel, oh, I love this, I love that, I can do this, I can do that, and that's going to allow the future to unfold. So our goal isn't to just go, if I can just stay in the moment. That's overthinking this whole process. And it's going to actually defeat us, because we're going to be so stressed about trying to do this that we're not going to get to the decision making. And as I said before, the most important thing, this is so important to you that nothing else, nothing can come in the way of it, nothing.
It's also
We have to-
moving with what makes you feel joy. If something doesn't feel good, why would you stay there? Right? It's moving with your joy. We all have joy. We all have things that turn us on that we love to do, or people we love to be with, or places we love to go. I mean, those are the things we should be following. It's not, and then we will be in the present moment because we'll be enjoying our lives, right? Emma.
This, when it says if you start keeping to track your thoughts and write them down, you'll find that most of the time you're either thinking ahead or looking back. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, I don't know whether it means to be wrong or right, but when I'm writing and I want to look back because I want to change something or I want to evaluate it so that I know how to move forward, that to me is good.
Right.
Or if I look into my future and that's what I want to be and that's what I want to write about, and then I go back in my past, oh, that's the reason why I can't move forward, I'm analyzing the thing so that I can move forward in the
Right.
future.
And
That's a good way of using it, but that's not what they're talking
they're not
about.
talking about that. If we only did that,
That's
we wouldn't be
great.
having any discussion tonight if we just did that. Like, oh yeah, I did that once. It's like with business. Oh, I tried that about 3 times, didn't work. Let's not do that again. And then, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the corpse that you've been carrying for 50 years behind you, going like this. This is what we're talking about.
And then you're expecting your future to be the same way.
And then you're going, I don't
because-
understand why life's
yeah.
so heavy.
No, what you're doing is what good
Yeah, that's
what
good.
good spiritual people do. They analyze where they've been and they go, okay, I want that to be better, so I'm going to let that one go. I'm going to keep this one. That's all. That's all
And he's
part
not
of the.
saying you're keeping track of your thoughts and writing them down 24 hours a day. That somebody you're going, so how have you been? And you're writing everything down. It's not that. Did you have your hand up?
Listen.
Oh.
Just take the simple activity
Oh.
that Joe Dispenza talks about when you get out of bed in the morning, and you go, oh, I've got that meeting today. I got to meet so and so. Oh my God, yesterday, what they did in class, I just can't even believe she said that. Blah blah blah. And that's what they're talking about. That's the stuff that doesn't do you any good.
No, yeah, we wake up and it's not even about the future. We haven't even got there yet because we're going to have to revise what went on the night before. I mean, this morning, I actually woke up for just a moment, and my thoughts were blank, and I was like, wait a minute, what happened last night? And I've got to get back to, so I could get back to where I'm at, because I woke up and I went, oh, I have no thoughts. Wait a minute. Now I went to dinner with them, and then they remember and I ran the whole play out so that I could get started with my day. Roseanne.
One way that I stay in the moment
Mm-hmm.
is I live with a very spiritual, loving being. And every day I look into into her eyes. And she looks at me with such love and adoration. She wags her tail. And I am in that moment. And if any of you have a pet, a cat or a dog, or a fish or a gerbil, and that gives you that ability to stay in that moment, then use it. Use that
All right. That was
being.
beautiful, Roseanne. It's
Beautiful,
true.
except you just destroyed your entire marriage on that. But because all of a sudden she's going like this, I'm going, oh,
right.
and everybody's like this, and then all of a sudden he goes, and he wags his tail. He's whoa.
Okay, turn to the person next to you and discuss this. So here is another of
Even though
those.
we only have 10 minutes.
I know,
so.
but it's a good question. So here is another of those big questions. If I want you to come up with an answer, like in 2 seconds. If you know that by staying in the present and severing or pruning your connections with the past, you can have access to all the possible outcomes in the quantum field, why would you choose to live in the past and keep creating the same future for yourself? Discuss. You've got 1 minute to come up with an answer.
Tick, 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 tick. Why? 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 Where's your partner? You must be enlightened.
30 seconds. Ten seconds.
9, 8,
7,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You guys.
Okay, what's your answer? Addiction. What's your?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Why would you choose? Oh, you wouldn't. Okay.
You wouldn't if you really
What's-
knew that.
What's
you
your
wouldn't.
answer?
Yes.
It's a sloppy question. Okay. All right. You wouldn't do it. Gratitude.
It's too easy to do that. That's why people stay in that.
Ah, it's too easy. Okay. You can. It's habit. So
Yeah.
you can have access to all the you. That's you. If you know that by staying, no, it's you,
us
Ronnie.
sitting right here, yeah.
If you know that by staying in the present and severing your or pruning your, that's you, Ronnie, connections with the past, you have access to all the what? That's you,
When we
Ronnie.
say you, that means that you get to make that decision. Well, if you want to get that, into,
That
yeah.
higher self that observes the conversation?
It's all of
what
the
part of
above, all of the above. That's who you are.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of automaticity in
Right.
all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a whole network of conversations
Absolutely.
that we say that's me, but then there's a higher self that observes that network of internal
Mm-hmm.
conversations. So there's conversations in representational language like English, like what we're speaking now. There's all kinds of traumatic material that's stored
Well, yeah,
in the midbrain. There- I mean,
exactly.
There's like, what is that you?
Okay,
that we're
so
talking about?
but with that, my head would explode.
I think he's just talking about
because
you.
what we're just talking about, Ronnie, is we're not, and this is, and I get what you're saying, but that's not what this is asking. That, and you know that too. You know that this question, because you're trying to compartmentalize it into. I mean, so who are you, Ronnie? I want to know this. So to answer this question, what would you need?
Give her the mic.
So let me see the question again then. So if you know that by staying in the present and severing or pruning your connections with the past, you can have access to all of the possible outcomes in the quantum field, why would you choose to stay in the past and keep creating the same future for yourself? Well, I'd have to address the you as, see, I don't think the I as an identity, which is this very automatic kind of network of I want to call it internal conversations, external conversations, emotions, movements, like that. I don't think that identity has much of an investment in anything other than preserving itself.
Well, I think we're talking about your conscious self
my
that's moving
higher
through
self.
life, your conscious self that's moving through
My
life.
higher self,
Your higher self wouldn't
Yeah.
even be discussing.
Right.
Your higher self wouldn't be discussing.
We're just talking about conscious self that lives on Earth plane, planet Earth, that's right here, that's talking, that's experiencing, that's feeling, that's touching. We're just talking about the person that lives, that goes to their job every day, the one that maybe wants a better life, that, it's just our personality. Maybe that's a way to put it. So I don't think it's as deep as what you're saying. It's just our, yeah.
or if it
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
Well, no, if it is, then you would just choose one. So all I'm asking is for you to choose. The Ronnie that came here tonight, that got in her car, came from the up north, pulled in here, sat down here. It's not about what's the observer or anything else. It's about Ronnie right now answering just the question about you, meaning Ronnie, that Ronnie. Does that help you to get it so it's not so sloppy? Because if we're going to compartmentalize and go out on the I and all of these things, then we're already in absolute separation. And we're separating now. And we're just saying, Ronnie that came here tonight, sitting here with the mic in her hand, why would we, and I know, and you even said it about the past, we're connected to all those things. So why would we, and it's asking, you can have access to all the outcomes, the higher self, lower self, I, all these things you're talking about. If we know that, and we could use the quantum field, why would you choose to live in the past? Which is part of what you're talking about, that part of the self.
why would you as a higher self choose to have your identity?
Well, the higher
with
self, I don't understand.
Yeah. See, I guess I look at the identity with a different model. That's the issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not going to answer the question. I mean, because it's not going to fit your criteria for what you think self or you is.
Yeah, and I can have a conversation with you about it some
Yeah,
other time.
yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with it.
Thank you for asking the question.
That's very.
I just think it was a lot deeper than what they're just saying here.
But I do want to get something really straight about higher self. Your definition may be different, obviously, than ours. A higher self is who and what we are. The first cause would not even be having this conversation because it knows nothing opposite of itself. Nothing. It's us who gets in and complicates it all. And that's all that is. There is a higher self, but even that is totally separating me right now. There's a higher self, middle self, lower self. My frequency is on and all of that is true by our experience. But the higher self, or whatever you want to call it, the first cause is this incredible thing that knows nothing opposite of itself, and that's where I want to live. They can call it the quantum field, they can call it whatever they want. So yeah, that's a stimulating conversation because we do tend to divide ourselves, identity versus personality, or inner child. Right, inner child too. We're going to find out, and if anyone's worked with me, the inner child is God.
Right.
That's what the inner child is, God. Whatever we want to call God, energy, divine, so.
All right, I'm trying to make a decision. Okay, let's just do this last one, because this is for me, this is the
It's
answer.
all
This
repeating
is the
itself,
answer behind
basically.
everything, is what we have to do is get back to some fundamental proposition which ties us directly into the mind of God, and with the simple acknowledgement that there is the law of good in which we have complete confidence, reverse our whole mental outlook on life. Because I believe we could work these principles, but if we don't know who we are and that we're attached to that greater mind, if we don't know that that's our mind, that's where we got to start, is making that connection with the divine. Otherwise, we're just going to be working in the world of form and trying to change our minds and trying to stay in the present and all of that. To me, that's the answer, is to understand that we are the mind of God. At this point, you understand, says Joe, that the main obstacle to breaking the habit of being yourself is thinking and feeling equal to your environment, your body, and time. Obviously, then, learning to think and feel greater than the big three is your first goal. So we can't think greater if we don't know who we are. And I think that to me is the answer.
And,
The first place to start. And I think like when we do our work with Dr. Joe, where we enter the quantum field, I think that we get that feeling, and then we use spiritual mind treatment, you know, and recognize God and everything, and then walk out into the world that way. Everything's going to look a lot different, but it takes practice, right?
And as long as we think that that there is a separation, I mean, that would be the biggest thing I think of this teaching, is that we are not our conditions. You may want to prove it over and over and over again every single day to prove that that's not true, because the conditions dominate, or my body dominates, or whatever. We can keep doing that, and that's really okay. And here's the other thing. What we're saying doesn't have to be your truth.
Right.
You know, that's not what this is about. This teaching's about, can we take our lives that we want to be, wherever that is, bigger than, take it bigger than the smallness that we're working with, and allowing the conditions of our world to dominate us, to allow our bodies to dominate us. Because we keep saying, I'm the power, I'm this, but you know, cut your finger and watch how quickly you give up that power. Because what'll happen is that becomes your power. Anything that you put outside of yourself is a false god. And, you know, call it for whatever you want. I know that. Even wanting to be enlightened and even wanting to expand you know, is separating at times. Because when we stay here and we realize there was nothing ever to get, boy, what are we going to do then? But go ahead, because you
I
have,
know we
we
end.
have, yeah.
Okay, let's start with
Is this
this.
the
Just
last
do
one?
this, and then you're going to do. We'll do the assignment and the treatment. If it's not going to do any, I love this. It's not going to do any good just to make a lot of idle resolutions, or to make up our minds that we are going to create such a dynamic personality that nothing can withstand it. This is too much like a person whistling in the dark because he's afraid. Right?
I forgot
The
that.
starting point is at the center of our own being, and when we awaken to the divine within us, it will reach out and embrace everything around us, and it will discover the same presence in people and in events and in all of nature, Dr. Holmes. So yeah, that's the place to start, and everything else will follow, right? Yes? Yep. So as far as the assignment, in Living the Science of Mind, you're going to get these sheets when you get home. It's 170 to 172 and 185 to 189, but I'll send these out tomorrow. If you haven't read Chapter 4, read it, and go to Chapter 5, Survival versus Creation. And that's in Breaking the Habit, okay? And then come back with 3 easy steps to overcoming time, body, and environment and applying it to your life. And then the rest is just to continue what you're doing. And what you're going to see in your notes when you get it is we went and took these quotes out from that crazy thing we had you to read. that
And we're
some
going to
people-
actually start next week
Yeah,
with
with
it, because
this.
we're
So
not going to.
do the
It's an
exercise.
exercise that we're going to do.
You'll do
with
the
you.
exercise. Just pick, let's just do it right now so everybody gets one. Let's just pick one of these. There's 5 of them. So how many people are there? Well, you know what?
No,
I
you
can't do
don't,
it.
because
Just
the
pick
people
one.
won't come. then.
Just pick one. All right, that's all. Just pick one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
no, it'll be in your.
We're
when
going to
we
give,
send-
I'm going to send this to you. All right? Yeah, it's 130 paragraph 1.
Living the
Yeah,
science.
it's the one we had you do last time. Just
We had
just-
an exercise plan, but we obviously ran
we
out
didn't
of
get
time.
it, so just do it. That's it. That's
Big-
it. Yeah.
that homework one.
Oh,
So you'll get that tomorrow too. So it's page 170, 172 in chapter 5, Survival versus Creation.
and the 3 easy steps to overcoming time, body, and environment, applying it to your life. That would be for Melissa. I
Right?
want you to come back with 3 easy steps.
You're going to write the book someday, Melissa, just so you'll know. I know you are.
You already
S-
are
Something
doing
that
it.
came to me in my meditation, and then I'll treat us, but I want to share it with you because you don't want a picture of me. Oh. It came in, and I felt it was a little harsh for myself, to be honest with you, but it was a gentle voice, and it said to me, do you know, Patrick, that if you decide and you never get it, that the world's still going to go forward? And did you know that I love you? But do you know that if you want to argue for the rest of your life, that's okay too? Because but what I realized that life wasn't going to stop. And I was shocked at that. Because for some reason I thought that life really couldn't go on for y'all until I got it. And I thought to myself, it's kind of like someone saying, someone said the other day, I just don't want to come, or I don't really like that, or they were talking about themselves, and they said, well, I'm really sorry I didn't come on Sunday, or something like that. And this is how I really feel about classes or anything else, and as spiritual leaders. You're not going to hurt my feelings. This is all set up for you, all of it. And you have a smorgasbord of things to choose from inner child to inspirations on Sundays, to classes, to labyrinths, to whatever. All of the stuff, all the goodies. And this is all to help you and on your path. So at the end of the day, when we go and we rest our head, that's why I really believe that it has to be that important to you. To the person that's experiencing whatever it is, it has to be that important. And here's the other thing. You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve to have everything you have ever wanted. You deserve to have a healthy inner child. You deserve to have a healthy life. You deserve to have a wealthy life. You deserve to have those four corners and then more at the center, which is more and more and more. So I really want us to feel that this is all for us. This is for us to do whatever it is that we need to do, and that you're loved for it no matter what. Do you hear that a little bit? It's just that important. My heart is very open tonight, because what I've realized is that as any kind of father or any kind of leader or any kind of, you've got to let your children do what they need to be doing, and that includes yourself. We're all learning this together. We're all in this together. And so let's think outside the box this month. I really invite us this whole month to whatever you thought was possible, think again. Whatever you thought was the highest thought you could ever have, think again. And that's going to be the whole month. If somebody comes up to me and says, yeah, but think again. Let's get out of the box. But first we have to know we're in it. First we have to know we're in this box. And then we have to say, pop the lid off that sucker and say, no, I'm leaving this box. Get it down. So whatever you're thinking this week, think again. You can never think high enough. So knowing that, I just know that in this moment, with eyes wide open, looking at, and feeling the atmosphere in this room, whatever it is, it's all good. That I am so grateful for everything that has transpired tonight. And that every word that has been spoken is valid, and every word that has been spoken is the word of good, the word of God. Call it whatever you want. It has no name, because it is all things. And so what I know and claim for each and every one of us, that, we have just begun. We have just begun to break the sides of these boxes and soar and live from this incredible quantum field. And what I know is that it is not enough just to swim in the quantum field, but to direct the quantum field in our favor. And what I do know is that the universal flow right here and right now is conspiring in every moment, in every one of our favors. Right here, right now. There can only be one answer to anything that is desired, anything that is wanted, anything that is required, and there can only be one answer, and the answer is yes. Yes. What do you want? Yes. And it is answered yes before you even say it. So what I know in this moment is I just thank everything that has transpired tonight. I am so blessed to be in this sea of dynamic minds and individualization of this one thing that we call spirit. And so I just know love, I know peace, I know great sleep for each and every one of us, and I know pleasant dreams, and I know love, and I know that each and every one of us is worth this thing called life. And with that, I simply say thank you. Thank you, and I release it. I let it go. As together we affirm. And so it is.